I am Barbara Evans Scott. I am a mother, grandmother, a great-grandmother. I am a Christian, and I love to help other people. My paternal grandfather came to this area from Willisville, Virginia. And whenever I asked him, "Where did you come from?" he would always say, "Somewhere over the mountain." Well, I never found out where that was, but they were free. They were not slaves. My grandfather Moore, who lived here in Middleburg and had a home, he was in Aldi Mountain, around Delaplane, around Middleburg. My mother's family were from Leesburg, which is just 18 miles from here. And they came from Waterford, Virginia. And they all had homes in Leesburg. He lived in a place called Vinegar Hill. Vinegar Hill was a little black community in Leesburg. And it got its name because my great-great-grandfather was courting. They had a little horse-drawn buggy full of apples. And the buggy upset, and the apples were all over the road. And of course, apples turned to vinegar. So they named that little community Vinegar Hill. And it's active to this day. I lived for 12 years on Benton Farm, which was about 3 miles from here. And I actually moved into town when I was 12 years old. It was great. We had a nice garden plot right next to the house. Then there was a white family that lived right next to us on that side. And on the other side, there was a black family, then a white family. We were kind of mixed in there. We would do paper dolls together. We would play games together, play baseball, softball, hitting the ball with a stick some of the time. Just a great community. And visiting relatives, always visiting relatives. And even people who weren't your relatives, you called them aunt and uncle instead of Mr. and Mrs. Well, the white kids would get the bus. They had to go to high school in Leesburg too, but they got the bus by the newsstand. We had to come to where this Exxon station is now to get the bus. The bus would go to Leesburg. It would also take elementary kids that lived beyond Middleburg to school in Leesburg. And we would have to pass the white high school, the white elementary school. And they would call us names when the bus would go by and things like that. But we just, oh well, that's the way life is. It would make me think all the time, why is there this difference? Why can't we all go to school together? But everybody wasn't on the same page. We had a lot going on, the same as the whites, but there was this barrier. And sometimes it would make me mad. I'd say, why? What's wrong? You know, we are all humans. My mother was a domestic day worker, and she worked for the Darlings, and the Darlings had a camera shop, which later became the Fun Shop in Middleburg. They also raised Cocker Spaniels and sold them. So in 1956, well, in all years, they would display pictures of the kids from Middleburg in their window. They would put their graduation pictures in their window. So my mother asked Mrs. Darling, she said, my Barbara and Barbara Smith are graduating. Why wouldn't you put their pictures on display? And Mrs. Darling says, oh, Edna, you know, I would love to. But that would really be like the end of my business. And I just felt like they really don't care about us. We're just good to do the day work or whatever they want. And I just felt that with the way the world was going at the time, things were changing and everything, somebody would have to be the first to do it. Why not you?
Tell us some of your favorite memories of being at the church.
Well, back in the day, churches did not have services every Sunday. The Methodist Church was first and third Sunday. The Baptist Church was second and fourth Sunday. So if you wanted to go to church every Sunday, you went to both churches. And it was hard to determine who belonged to which church. On first and third Sunday at Asbury, it was like a reunion. Everybody's so glad to see each other. I loved the voices. They were some of the singingest people at Asbury. Beautiful tenors, basses, altos. And I liked music. I enjoyed it. And the people had a joy. Coming to choir practice was just a great thing. I never felt like I was a child to them. I always felt like I was one of them. It was just a reunion. It was a social outlet as well. The community center was a big drawing card for the community. It was beneficial in a lot of ways. You would have choir concerts there. Virginia State College Choir would come, Hampton. All of these would come through. Big cultural events for the community. They would have dances at the community center. Shirley and Lee, Ike and Tina Turner, Little Richard, all of these folks, $1.25. And the people would come from all around, not just from Middleburg and Leesburg, but from Purcellville, Hamilton, even from Charlestown, West Virginia. They would come to the community center. It would be a big drawing card. The community center was also a place for intramural sports and things like that. My brothers played basketball down there. They pitched horseshoes down there. One of the big things that would happen at the community center, there was a Northern Virginia Baptist Association, and they would have meetings at different churches each year. When it was their turn to meet at Shiloh, all of the meals were served at the community center. And the people from Asbury, the people from Shiloh, the people from all of the neighboring churches would come to this event. And we would have a great time at the community center, shooting pool, playing ping pong, singing, cutting up, just having fun. The memories that I have of Middleburg and growing up, it's not Middleburg of today. At one point, 75% of the businesses were Black-owned and in Middleburg. And it's just such a loss because there were such talented individuals here. In order to do better, you had to leave Middleburg. I didn't want to be a domestic worker. I felt that there were bigger and better things for me to do. And that's the way it is with most of the blacks that were in the community. Their children grew up and sought a better life. And as we move away and have our families, it leaves the community bare. When I moved away and lived in D.C. and in Maryland, and my children grew up there, they had no interest in Middleburg. Middleburg was, what about Middleburg? Because they didn't know Middleburg when you had the log cabin, Mr. Iddle's Douglas Place for dances, Tootie Williams Restaurant, Johnny Moten's cab service. All of these people were gone, and there was nothing to attract them to Middleburg. You come back for special occasions, maybe a church anniversary, somebody's wedding, this, that, or the other. But rarely do you see this community coming together. And I just think there has to be something that's here to remind us of the real Middleburg, the old Middleburg. You know, to see a structure like Asbury, that just brings back so many beautiful memories to my mind. And to think that that church will never reopen as a church, what a loss. For historical purposes, I think it's vital to the community. And regardless of where Middleburg goes, you have these historic landmarks and you have these histories of families that were here. And I think Middleburg realizes that the blacks had a vital role to play in the development of Middleburg. There are some things you just can't forget. And Asbury is one of them.